look at the output. It says hello world, right? This is probably like the most common code that you're going to write in a beginner's programming course, pretty much. Now, if you guessed it, yeah, we're using the print function in order to print this output, hello world, but probably not the way you think. I'm sure you thought I did this. Yeah. Now here's the beautiful thing about coding. There are actually many ways to get the same result. Similar to how 2 plus 3 equals 5 and 1 plus 4 equals 5. Now, here's the code that I actually used. So like, what's the difference? What's actually going on here? Well, today we're going to be talking about variables. Now, the area where it says message, that right there, that's what we call a variable, or a container. It's something that contains hello world. Hello world is the data. This data is what we call a string data type. Alright, so variables, right? This is what this video is going to be about, obviously. I just explained what variables are. Now, I'm going to try to really make this short this time. Like, last time I said I was going to make it short and it turned out to be like 17 minutes. I don't know, I feel like I talk a lot. I've been told, but let's try to make this one quick. So, you know, as you saw in the visual, variables are just containers, right? They're just containers where you store a bunch of data. But how do you actually put it into practice? By the way, if you haven't seen the previous video, this is the second video in our series on basically Python for beginners. So we're, you know, navigating the full spectrum of AI. We are, you know, navigating literally everything. We're learning Python, we're going to be learning data analysis, data science, and then eventually machine learning, and then putting that all into implementation, into practice, and then eventually building applications. So we're going to be analyzing the entire spectrum. If you want to join us on this journey, just subscribe, hit the like button, share. That being said, variables. So again, we're starting like from ground zero. So this is beginner stuff. If you're a beginner, just listen up. So last time we were talking about all of this, so make sure to check out the previous video. Today we're just checking out variables. So variables is basically the standard to manipulate data. It's extremely key. If you want to be able to master AI, you got to master data. If you want to master data, you got to learn how to manipulate data. If you want to learn how to manipulate data, you need to learn variables, because variables is the standard to manipulate data. It's how we store data. So here is a practical example. By the way, this is onlinepython.com. It's literally like a free IDE where you can practice some beginner Python related stuff. We will eventually install Python, by the way. I'm not going to do that right now because I want you guys to just get started. Just start practicing, basically. So, a variable. Let's code so the code that you guys saw earlier, let's just code that out. Message equals hello world, right? Print message. Now, whoops. So, if I press run, which you could also press F8 as a shortcut, it's gonna print out hello world. And this is what we were talking about from the beginning of the video. What is actually going on here? Well, this is just a piece of data. This is what we call a string data type. Remember, there are 4 data types. If you remember from our last video, there are 4 data types that we defined: a string, an integer, a float, and a boolean. We're going to be talking about integers, floats, and booleans later. Right now, we're focusing on specifically strings. Strings are just a set of characters, right? This is a set of character, right? This is a character. This is another character. This is another character. And the entire thing can compose anything. It can compose a sentence. It could compose a paragraph, whatever it is. That's what a string is. So, and this string is representing a piece of information known as hello world. Simple as that, right? Plain and old. So, this is a string, right? So, a string, just like a refresher, a string is just a set of characters. So, this is a character H. This is a character W. This space right here is a character, right? All of these guys are characters that compose a string. So a sentence is a string. A phrase is a string. This hello world is a string. If I just literally type something random, that's a string. It's a set of characters. And the Lego blocks, the blocks that compose this character are called, the Lego blocks that compose this string is called a character. That's all it is. And this is a data type. And this right here, what I'm storing right here, is just data. I could store a bunch of data, and I could assign it to this, or assign this variable to, you know, this piece of data right here. Now, why are variables actually important? Like, why are they useful? Why are they practical? So right here, this is how you actually define a variable. So let me just remove this print. Just that right there. This is how you define a variable. I know I'm not really saying anything here. This is just a random piece of text. So let's go back to the, actually, let's do something else. Welcome to All Mind. So this is a message, right? Like, I could just simply copy and paste this message right here, right? I could just simply, you know, focus on printing this guy right here. I could literally just do that. And if I want to, whatever I want to write to the console, I could just do it directly into the print function, and it's going to return the value right here in the console. But I could do that, but what happens if, for example, I have a very large message, right? Like, let's suppose I have a very large message, like, this is a very, very large number. So imagine that you have this. In fact, I'm going to remove this variable. So let me just remove this. So imagine that you have this super large number, right? Now, obviously, nothing is going to happen here in the console because this number is just sitting there, right? So, like, okay, this is ridiculous because, like, if I'm going to do the print, like, I can actually print this to the console, right? Like, but yeah, exactly. Since this is such a huge, huge number, it's a lot easier to get syntax errors if you're going to be using like the print function right here in this case. So if I want to like manipulate this big number, like if I want to like add this number with another number like 10, for example, I want to be able to look at the result of this number. Like, what happens if I add this entire huge number with like this other super, okay, I don't know what I did there, this other super large number, right? What is the result of that? Well, it's going to be very hard for me to see the result if I don't use a print function. So I can use a print function in order for me to see the result, but I'm not going to be able to because I'm going to get a syntax error. Python is just going to collapse. So this is not very efficient, right? This is where variables become very, very useful. I could just name this variable whatever. Like, literally, I can name it whatever I want, right? And what I'm doing here is, remember, a variable is just a container. So I'm just essentially taking a container and I'm storing something inside that container. If I have a bunch of stuff, right, I'm not going to just carry all that stuff with my hands, right? I'm not going to carry my groceries without a bag, right? You want to use a bag in order to efficiently carry your groceries. It's pretty intuitive, right? So it's very similar. So this is your grocery bag. A variable is your grocery bag. You want to store all your groceries in this grocery bag so you can carry this grocery bag in a more efficient way. How am I carrying this grocery bag? Well, instead of me having to, you know, if I want to add this weird number, I don't add it directly, right? I can use my grocery bag, my container, and add the number. And I'll be able to see the result. I'll be able to see the result. And here we go. So what this is telling me is this entire number, this huge number, plus this number is going to give me this number. That's the beautiful thing about variables. Now, of course, this thing is rounded because, you know, it's a pretty big number, but this is just to illustrate a point in a very extreme, dramatic way. Now, a little more like down-to-earth examples. So, for example, I could say message or welcome message. So just code with me, right? Welcome to All Mind. There we go. Now, I can print a message. I could say, I'm going to print this welcome message, and I also want to say, my name is, and what I could do is I could write down my name, Tony, and then I could literally put my name, right? I'm storing my name in this variable, in this container, and I'm storing this welcome message in this welcome message variable. The cool thing about the print function is that you can pass multiple values to the function, right? So you just have to separate it by a comma. So right here, this comma, if I remove the comma, Python is going to treat this entire thing as a variable, and it's going to be like, oh wait, bro, what's that variable? Like, what are you talking about? It's just going to collapse. It's just going to blow up, right? Now, what you want to do is you just want to, you know, put in the comma so Python doesn't blow up. You just pass the welcome message, you pass the name, You put in the comma, so Python doesn't explode. So right here, you're passing two variables to the print function. And then there you go. Right here, it says, welcome to All Mind. My name is Tony. So it's going to print out the entire message, and it's going to print out my name. So the beautiful thing about this is that if, see this entire message that's in the console, I could just simply change my name to something else, and that something else is also going to change. Variables is just, like I said before, it's just a very simple way for you to like store data, and it's gonna be extremely useful when we're gonna be like manipulating data structures. So when we're starting to manipulate more complex data structures like lists or dictionaries, we don't want to have to like copy and paste those dictionaries and return them to and pass it to another function. It's gonna look very messy, because this is just a string, right? And those are just numbers that we've seen. But eventually we're gonna be like dealing with, you know, complex data structures like these, for example. And these, you know, data structures, they can get pretty large. See, this is a perfect example of a variable. So see how this data structure, I'll explain what dictionaries are in another episode, but see how this data structure right here, right? You got Alex, you got 5, Ben 10, Carly 12, Daniel 7, Evan 6. This variable right here, we're storing all this information to this variable, right? And then I could just take this variable and I can manipulate it however I want to. I can print it out to the console, right? This console right here is showing the entire data structure. I can maybe add another piece of data to this dictionary. I can remove data from this dictionary. I can display this. I can index this dictionary. I can do a whole bunch of things just by manipulating this variable without having to touch whatever's inside. That's the beautiful thing about variables. So again, it sounds a bit abstract, and it is, I know, but it's going to be very intuitive as soon as you start actually doing stuff with it. So my challenge to you is go to ChatGPT, right? And open up a new window and ask it, hey, can you give me some really practical examples of variables in Python? And it's going to generate these examples for you. Now, we'll get back to that in a second. I just want to show you one more thing. So imagine I have this message, hi, and imagine I have another message that is also called hi. Now, what's very important to note here is if I were to print this out, what's going to happen, right? What's going to happen? Is it going to print this guy right here, or is it going to print this guy out here? If I were to pass this variable. Okay, let's see if I can. What's going to happen? Is it going to print this message right here, or is it going to print this message right here? So if you guessed this guy, no, that's incorrect. If you guessed this guy, then yes, that's actually correct. Because here's the thing. Python is reading things line by line, right? So it's starting off from the top. It's going to be like, okay, cool. So this guy assigned the data hi to this variable. Great. It's going to look at line 2. It's going to be like, oh, okay, there's nothing in line 2. Then it's going to look at line 3, and it's going to be like, oh, okay, so this guy's changing the variable. Right, so what's happening here is that now we're changing the data that's inside the variable message. So if we were to print this, it's going to print hello. It's not going to print hi. It's going to forget about hi. And it's going to print out hello. That's some very important things to know. Let's see, what else do we have here? So this is just a small exercise, another exercise that I want you to do. Oh yeah. So what do you think this code will print on the screen? So if you were able to answer this, you should be able to answer this. If you guessed hey, then that is totally wrong, and that's okay, because, you know, if you guessed hey, then you probably suck, and if you suck, that's fine, because I also sucked. We just have to suck less, right? So no, the answer is actually oh hi. So if we were to print my var, it's obviously going to be oh hi, because that's how, like, Python is very exact. Like they are spelled similarly, but this one, as you can see, you got M, which is capitalized, and V, which is also capitalized. So yeah, the result is going to be oh hi. Now, that was just a fun little exercise. I challenge you to go on the console and just experiment a bunch of different things and see what goes on. But here are a couple things to take with you. There are two main rules when it comes to working with variables. These are called syntax rules. Now, a syntax rules is just the rules of the game, basically. Syntax rules are the rules of the game. They're just the rules of the game. Like these hard rules that human beings kind of like wrote down when it comes to a specific programming language. So, For Python, there's a specific set of rules that these programmers like gather together, and they're like, hey, so for the game of Python, this is going to be the rule, and this is going to be the second rule, this is going to be the third rule, and so on and so forth. And now we just have a whole bunch of rules written down in what is known as a documentation. So if you literally go right here, type in Python documentation, you'll be able to see the commandments of Python. This is like the 10 commandments, except it's not really 10 commandments, it's like a billion commandments. So it's like a bunch of rules for different versions of Python, and you can literally start reading about, you know, a bunch of different rules. So there's a lot of rules. This is why I tell people, don't memorize anything. In programming, you don't memorize stuff. You just build, because no programmer in the world knows everything about Python, or knows everything about Java, or knows everything about a programming language. Nobody knows everything. You have to define what it is that you want to build, and then see, okay, what are the stuff that I need in Python in order for me to actually build this. But anyways, the two main syntax rules for variables is, number one, variable names can only begin with letters or the underscore character. And number two, variable names can only contain letters, numbers, and underscores. Other special characters are not allowed. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And like I said before, that if you are interested in analyzing the entire full spectrum of AI, everything, data science, data analysis, machine learning, coding, and not just that, but even the philosophical side, the philosophy of AI, the philosophy of technology and science. If that's something you're interested in, if you're weird as I am, then yeah, just subscribe, follow, like, and please share this video if you know someone who will find value in this as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.